What's good YouTube? Quasar here. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys my Tellarknight deck profile. Now that Invasion of Vengeance has finally come out, we can see that there's a lot of new Tellarknight support, so this deck is still probably competitive in the meta. It might not be top tier still, but the support definitely helps making it a lot more competitive. A lot of this stuff is still pretty straightforward, so let's just jump right into it. 3 Deneb, Rhoda's still at 1, gotta play this guy at 3, lets you search for any other Tellarknight except a copy of herself, so always max out on Deneb. We're also now maxing out on Unakalhai because you need to set up your graveyard too. Dump your Deneb. 18 beater 2 is not bad, so gotta max out on her as well. 3 copies of Altair. This guy gets your combo going, allowing you to special summon from the grave. But if you do use its effect, you can only attack with Tellarknight monsters, so keep that in mind. But still, definitely want to be playing it at 3. This guy's usually the guy you're going to be searching off of Deneb. And we play only 1 copy of Vega. Vega just allows you to special summon from your hand. Still definitely have to play 1, but only 1 is needed. Sorry, phone's ringing. Let's see. Next, I'm playing the Artifact engine. Now, I really like the Artifact engine with Tellarknights because people see Tellarknights, they know, okay, this guy's playing a back row heavy deck. We're going to have to be getting rid of back row. So you can bluff them out by setting the artifacts in the back row. Morale Tack is unfortunately at 1, but if it's in the back row and it gets popped, special summon it, and then you get to pop a card that your opponent controls, as long as that effect goes off during your opponent's turn. So they all have effects that activate if they are summoned on your opponent's turn. And they usually get summoned from being in the back row and getting popped during your opponent's turn. 2 copies of Scythe. This guy's probably the MVP because the turn that it's summoned, your opponent cannot special summon from their extra deck. So it stops them from continuing their plays, which I really like, obviously, because that's basically the point of Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't let your opponent play. And I'm also maining 1 copy of Lancia, because this guy's just way too good. Everyone's banishing nowadays. You have ABCs that banish. Infernoids banish a fuck ton too. So, like, having this guy in your hand and then pitching it, neither player can banish for the rest of their turn. So that also stops a whole bunch of decks from continuing their plays. And for the last monsters I play 2 copies of Max C, which you obviously have to play because if your opponent does go off, you want to be pitching this and drawing off of whatever they special summon. So that's it, just 16 monsters. You still want to keep a pretty low monster count with Tellarknights. 1 copy of Rhoda you're allowed. I'm playing 2 copies of Ties of Brethren. This card's actually pretty freaking sweet in Tellarknights. Summon whatever Tellarknight you want, activate this, you pay 2,000 life points, and then you get to special summon 2 other Tellarknights with different names. You get their effects off, but unfortunately you cannot special summon anymore after. Whatever you do summon, I usually go for Unakalhai and Deneb, just because you get to pitch another Deneb, and then the Deneb that you summoned gets you to add, most likely, Altair. If you already did normal summon one of those, switch out whatever one for Vega. I mean, you won't get to summon from hand anymore, but it's still not too bad. If they do by chance happen to stay on the field next turn, you have your 3 material Xyz summon. But that doesn't happen too often because, of course, they don't have the highest of attack. But I still think this card has to be played. 3 copies of Card of Demise. This card's pretty broken as well. Activate it as the last card in your hand. You get to draw 3. You can't special summon. You have to discard your hand during the end phase. There are a lot of restrictions with this card, but I still think you have to be playing it because it lets you draw 3 cards. So that's essentially a +2 if you activate it during the right time. Even if you draw into your artifacts, you can set them. So that's really good. If you activate it also, hopefully you didn't normal summon. If you do end up drawing a monster, you can still normal summon, but you can't special summon. But because you are also playing a lot of back row, this card helps you see it more often as well. So, I mean, there are a lot of downsides, but this card's just still way too good to not play. 1 copy of Soul Charge. This card is insanely broken in this deck. Pay whatever you want to summon however many you want to, but you don't really need to be summoning all that many from the grave. Even if you just pick like 2 Altair to summon, you have to summon 2 from grave. Maybe one of those is a Vega, and if you have something in your hand, you know, special summon it. You can easily just activate this for 2 and get 5 monsters on board. So that's really sweet. You don't have to pay the freaking 5,000 heavy cost. And you still end up with a pretty ridiculous board afterwards. You just don't get a battle phase, but oh well. 1 copy of Regeki, so obviously nuking board's pretty straightforward. And then instead of MST, instead of Twin Twister, we now have our very own archetype specific sort of like, I don't know, I guess I would call this a Harpy's Feather Duster, if anything. Maybe it could be sort of like Heavy Storm, if you will, if you don't activate it at the right time. But this card can also do you some good if you do pop your own cards. So it's a quick play. Activate this, target as many Speller Traps on the field up to the number of Tellarknights you control. So if you do, let's say, activate Ties of Brethren, and then you have your 3, you activate this card, you have to pop 3 cards. So hopefully your opponent has 3 back row. If they only have 2 and you have 1, you actually have to pop the other one because it has to be the equal amount. So just be careful when you do activate this. Know how many back row your opponent has and make sure you're activating it at the right time. You can activate this during your opponent's turn because it's a quick play to pop their things. But if they only have, let's say, 1 back row, if you have like your Morale Tech face down, and if you have 2 Tellarknights, activate this. Pop their back row, pop your Morale Tech. Morale Tech's effect will go off to special summon and then destroy, maybe a monster that they control. So you can still do a lot of pretty crazy combos with this. I just want to stress that it's an equal amount, so timing is everything when you activate this card. Now we're moving on to traps. Again, pretty straightforward. You have to play 3 copies of Alpha. For some reason, I'm seeing people playing like only 2 of this. I don't know why, because it negates anything. And then you get to draw off of it. So I don't know why people would only play 2. Like, I want to be seeing this card as often as possible, so my opponent can't play. First World Yu-Gi-Oh! Problems, Call of the Haunteds. Like, I play 3, unfortunately, they're all mismatched. Um, I know these are the only 3 I own, which is kind of shitty, but it is what it is. Deck's complete. Have to play 3 copies of this because it allows you to recycle all of your Tellarknights that are engraved. And then, of course, with Trigger, you get to bounce these cards back to your hand in order to reuse them. Keep repeating the combo. You can also use these to special summon your artifacts that are already in the grave. Just make sure you do that during your opponent's turn to get their effects off. 2 copies of Sanctum. Again, this card basically lets you summon them from deck rather than call, which is from grave. Activate this during your opponent's turn because the turn you activate this, you don't get a battle phase, but it doesn't even matter because if you activate this on your opponent's turn, you're going to be getting your artifact's effect off, and also the battle phase is irrelevant. The great thing about this card too, though, is if someone like targets it to destroy it, you get to destroy a card that they control. So if they were to MST it, for example, you can chain this, special summon whichever artifact you want. I usually go into Scythe because that stops them from special summoning from extra. And then this effect also still triggers because it was targeted to be destroyed. You get to pop another card. So I don't see why you wouldn't be playing this card, especially since you're playing the artifact engine. Card's really strong. I think 2 is all you really need, though. 2 of the brand new Dimensional Barrier. This card is insanely broken. Activate it, declare either Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, Pendulum, or Ritual. Your opponent cannot summon the monsters of the declared type, and also all monsters on the field of the declared type have their effects negated. So obviously, pretty much as soon as the duel starts, you're going to know what kind of deck your opponent's playing. Call out whatever is necessary. This deck is all Xyz, so if you know your opponent is playing Xyz, it's gonna slightly hurt you a little bit because it will negate your Xyz monster's effects. But this is only until the end of the turn, so you're obviously activating it on your opponent's turn. It's gonna hurt them a lot more than it's gonna hurt you. And then last but not least, I am playing the 3 copies of Strike and the 1 copy of Warning just to make sure your opponent cannot proceed with their special summons. That's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. We have a brand new monster, the Dark Tellarknight. I actually really like this guy. So when it's on the field, you'll also notice that this guy's a dark. It makes all monsters on the field dark. So that's really freaking awesome. If your opponent's playing like a light-based deck, all those monsters then become dark. So that'll kind of screw them over. But also your monsters become dark too. That's actually kind of irrelevant though. It does have another effect where you can detach a material, discard a card, and then rank it up with any light Tellarknight. Honestly, I don't even feel the need to use that. I like him because this guy's a 26 beater. Keep him on board because anything your opponent drops would become dark. And then after that, you're probably going to want to go into diamond as quick as possible. So anything your opponent drops becomes dark. If they try to activate its effect, you can always just use Diamond's effect to negate the activation. So they're kind of locked down right there. I'm playing 2 copies of Trigger. Trigger is still one of the best Tellarknight Xyz. when it's summoned, bounce everything on the field back to the hand. Allows you to reuse your things like Call of the Haunted. It only has 2100 attack, but it's still pretty awesome. One copy of Deltaros. The one is all you need. Detach a material to pop a card on the field. And then if this guy somehow ends up getting destroyed, like even if they Solemn Warning it, Solemn Strike it, you get to either summon one Tellarknight from your deck or from your hand. You usually want to go from your deck, bring out Altair, special summon whatever from grave, continue on your plays, and you're still going to set up a pretty sweet board. And then while this guy's on field, your opponent can't activate things such as like Bottomless or Torrential Tribute because they just can't stop the summon. They can only negate it, which is like, of course, strike or warning, but they're still paying life points for that. That's it for the Tellarknight Xyz monsters. We are playing the Constellars as well. Diamond acts as both a Tellarknight and Constellar. I play Omega just for back row protection, really easy to drop. I'm also playing one copy of Pleiades. You use your artifacts to go into this guy. During either player's turn, detach a material to bounce a card on field back to hand, so that's always really good. And I'm also playing one copy of M7 just to rank up over either Diamond, Pleiades, or Omega, whatever you feel. And then, similar effect to Pleiades, you get to detach, bounce a card from field back to hand, or you can return a card from graveyard back to hand, so that's actually helpful as well. The only thing with this guy, you can't use that during either player's turn. You play the one copy of Durandal. I don't go into Durandal that often, but I still like the fact that if your opponent were to search, if you have this guy on board, you can use the effect detach. They would have to shuffle their hand back into the deck and then draw the same number of cards that they had in their hand originally when you activated that effect. So it can sort of disrupt their plays whenever they do search for a card. I do like that effect. One copy of Heroic Champion. This guy is brutal when you do summon him with all 5 Xyz materials. If your opponent can't stop this summon, it's pretty much game. Because when he has 5 Xyz materials, he gets to pop all cards on the field. When he has 4, your opponent can't normal or special summon, but they can set, so you might not get to them exactly because they can still just set a monster in defense mode, and then you're just going to have to run over that. With 3 Xyz materials, it's unaffected by card effects. 2 Xyz materials, attack and defense doubles, so it becomes 3k. And then with only 1 Xyz material, can't be destroyed by battle. So I guess that's a decent effect. But obviously, the more Xyz materials you have on this guy, the better. And then during your opponent's end phase, you're going to have to detach an Xyz material. So you obviously can't have 5 Xyz materials on this guy forever. For like your basic rank 4 stuff, you are playing the Castell, playing the 101 just to get rid of some problematic stuff. Castell just detach 2 to bounce back, 101 detach 2 to absorb. And lastly, we are playing the lineup of the Utopias. So again, really easy to go into your basic rank 4s. Rank it up with Ray, rank it up with Lightning. I always play Ray and Lightning just because you can use Lightning's effect twice because you do have to detach 2 Xyz materials. But anyways, that's my Satellarknight deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.